afternoon to all of you. So my name is Miguel Meuleman. I'm a professor in entrepreneurship at Frederick Business School. I also work at the Imperial College in London, and I'm mostly specialized in entrepreneurial finance. So what I would like to do now is to just give you a little update on how the Belgian ecosystem in terms of entrepreneurial finance is doing, also including the European ecosystem. I'm optimistic. If you look at recent results, I think there is certainly good signs that certainly the ecosystem is recovering a little bit from the backlash in 2023. So let me share some statistics with you. Some of you will have seen also the report, the State of the Belgian Tech report that came out. So a lot of the insights I will share also reflect those results. These are statistics from Agoria. So they track in Belgium, I think it's the most comprehensive database on venture deals, including both business angels, venture capital, but also accelerator deals, excluding biotechnology because it's kind of a different kind of animal. If we look just at the number of deals in 2024 up till now, up till today, we've seen around 100 deals. So we still see, probably we will not reach the level of 2022, but there's a fairly high likelihood that we might hit again the 2023 level. And what is very important to note here is that the average deal size is much larger than what we have seen in the past couple of years. So the total amount invested today, I will show you later on, already surpasses the 2023 amount. So even if the number of deals seems relatively low, the total amount that has been invested is already surpassing 2023. If we look how these numbers, what is invested in the different regions in Belgium, more than 50% goes to founders, about 35% goes to Wallonia, and about 15% to Brussels. In total, in 2024 up till today, about 800 million has been invested in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Here we'll look at the total amount of funding raised by companies so far. So 2024, 800 million, so we're already surpassing 2023. Even if the number of deals is relatively low, the average deal size is much higher. What is important is that there's a high likelihood that we will come close to a level of 2020. These were like peak years, 2021, 2022, driven by low interest rates. So I think we're clearly recovering. And I think overall, if we look at the trends in general, I think it's still an upward trend, not taking into account the peak years of 2021 and 2022. If we look at the sectors that are attracting the biggest amount of funding, what I think is striking is certainly that energy and clean tech is attracting a lot of capital. One of the biggest deals, 3 energy solutions. This is also reflected across Europe. In Europe, you see that energy and clean tech is really on top of the industries, attracting a lot of capital. Next to that, there's a whole range of areas, often including software-based companies. We can also see AI here. But of course, in many of the solutions in these other verticals, you will also have AI as part of the technologies that are being sold. This is an interesting slide. If you see who are the most active investors in Belgium, it's a lot of government-related investors. We see IMEC, we see Wallonia Entreprendre, SPIN, PMV. So clearly, government-related investors play an important role. We also see some new players like Miles Ahead and Pitch Drive. So clearly, governments are important, and I agree with the speaker that just came before me, is that we need more deep pockets investors investing huge amounts of funding. If there is one big disadvantage we have in Europe as compared to the US, it's a funding disadvantage. Companies in the US, they just get much bigger because investors are willing to take more risks and invest larger amounts. If we just see in Europe, these are statistics from PitchBook, so not Deal Room, we see a steep decline in 2023, even continuing in 2024, both volume and the number of deals. But very importantly, the last quarter, the second quarter of 2024, we see an acceleration. So the European ecosystem is also accelerating again, so I think that's good news. What we can see here, this is European data, is we mostly see a decline in the early stage, in the seed stage, deals and pre-seed. So deals smaller than 500K, we see a decline in the number of deals there. So that's important to note, to mention. What is also interesting, if you look at for the entrepreneurs in this room, if you're trying to attract capital, is what are the deal terms? So what are the valuations at which companies can raise money? And here we're looking at the pre-money valuations, pre-seed. The good news is even if we see fewer deals, as shown in the previous slide, the average valuations, or I prefer to look at the median valuations, in pre-seeds is increasing. So that means that investors become more selective, they pick more higher quality deals. But there's still enough competition for deals because there's a lot of invested capital. So entrepreneurs still receive, when they get funding, they get good deal terms. I think that's an important conclusion here. Again, I already mentioned that the average deal size, this is pre-seed, is also going up. So entrepreneurs receive more capital at relatively good terms. If we look at seed pre-money valuations, we see slight recovery from 2023 to 2024, not as high as 2022. But if you compare it to the previous years, it's still at the level of 2021. So in general, the deal terms, again, for entrepreneurs raising capital, they seem to be quite good because VCs, even if they are more selective, they are competing for good deals. We see the same in the early stage pre-money valuations. It's going up again. You can see that also at the blue lines, again at the level of 2021. Again, this is European data, but I'm pretty sure this is also reflected for the Belgian ecosystem. If you look at the late stage market, it's mostly stabilizing. So we don't see an increase in the valuations, maybe even a slight decrease if we look at the average. What else can I share with you? I think what is important to mention is that in general, the exits, one of the problems we see today is that venture capital firms have problems returning capital to their LPs. So they're limited partners, which also means that LPs are not making new commitments to VCs. So we clearly see that the exit environment has been suffering. If I purely look at the Belgian data, in Belgium, if you would look at the State of European Tech report, we have seen a lot of exits in the past year, 2023. And if you look at Belgium in 2024, the exit activity is at a fairly good level. So what you see, the decline that you can see here, is not so pronounced in Belgium. So Belgium seems to do better in terms of exits as compared to the European decline we spot here. If you look at VC fundraising activities for venture capital funds, the new number of venture capital funds that are being raised, we see steep decline. So in Europe in 2024, the first 6 months, we had 71 new funds. For Belgium, we had 8 new funds in 2024 so far. So clearly there is less capital to be invested, but luckily there's still a lot of dry powder, uninvested capital from the capital that was raised in the years 2021 and 2022. So that's good news, but we see fewer venture capital funds that are able to attract capital, or we see fewer new funds. I think that's an important conclusion. So it might become a bit more challenging to attract capital in the years to come, maybe especially for less companies where the quality might be not as pronounced. In the past, we see a lot of VCs who spray invest in a lot of deals and who trade. I think today they are a bit more selective. If we look at the number of unicorns across Europe, we see steep decline in unicorns. Clearly, later stage investors have become much more conservative in putting these huge valuations on late stage companies. So the number of unicorns has declined, which again might be a problem for VCs that are looking for attractive exits to return capital to their LPs, who need the returns to then reinvest in the venture capital space. So these were just a couple of statistics. So my conclusion is, I think we can be optimistic. In general, we see that there is acceleration in the number of investments, in the amount of capital. The deal terms seem to be quite good, but investors have become more selective. I think in general we see a diverse range of investors investing, including the governments, traditional VCs, also family offices. A lot of business angels are investing. So I'm still quite optimistic, but we need deep pocket investors in later stages to bring the Belgian companies to really a global level. Too many companies also relocate to the US because they know there's more opportunities in the US to grow. Thank you very much.